Before we start, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Standing in that downtown registry office, suit ironed, documents ready, heart exposed, I didn't feel like a man in control. I felt like a fool walking into a fire he'd already smelled from a mile away. "You're 40 minutes late, Camille." I said it calmly, like I was just reading the time off the clock. But the sting? It landed. Her heels clicked fast across the lobby floor of the King County Administration Building, her face already twisted into an apologetic smile before she reached me. "I'm so sorry, babe. Mr. Donner held me up with a last-minute review," she said breathlessly, brushing imaginary dust from her blazer. It was one of those. "I already called him." That stopped her cold. Her mouth froze mid-sentence. Her eyes flickered, once to the left, then back to me. "You called him?" "Yeah. About 25 minutes ago. He's out sick. Said he hasn't been in since Thursday." Her lips parted slightly, then closed again. She swallowed. Hard. "Oh, he must have. I guess I got the days mixed up." I tilted my head. "You got the days mixed up?" The marble floor beneath us reflected everything too sharply. Her tight shoulders, my clenched jaw, the sharp space growing between us. Other couples were signing documents, taking selfies, hugging. We stood there like shadows carved out of a happier picture. "Marcus," she said, stepping closer. "I didn't want to fight today. I really didn't. Can we just—" "No, Camille. You didn't want to tell the truth today." My voice was quiet, controlled, which made her even more nervous. She always expected volume from me when I was upset. Rage she could handle. Silence. That was different. She exhaled, clearly working through a dozen fake versions of the truth she could serve me. "I was grabbing coffee," she admitted, too fast. "I just needed a second to clear my head. This is a big day. I freaked out a little, okay? You don't drink coffee." A pause. "I was with Janine," she tried next. "We were just talking, and I lost track of time. She posted a story 20 minutes ago from her yoga class." Another pause. This one heavier, like she finally realized she was out of place. "Marcus, please," she whispered. "I messed up. I got nervous, and Okay, I lied. I didn't mean to." "You always mean to," I said. And for a moment, everything stilled. The noise of the office, the murmured vows in the background, even the fluttering papers at the clerk's desk, all of it seemed to freeze. She took my hand then, or tried to. I didn't flinch, didn't squeeze back. I just looked at her, really looked, and felt something crack quietly inside me. Not enough to break, not yet, but enough to leave a mark. "I still want this," she said softly. "You and me." I nodded once, slowly. "I know what you want." Then I turned, walked toward the front desk, and told the clerk we'd need to reschedule. "My name's Marcus. I've worked in commercial HVAC since I was 21. I know pressure. I know stress. I know what it takes to hold weight that's not yours, just to keep things running." And what I didn't know then was that this was only the first crack. That morning wasn't the end of something. It was the start. When we got back to the apartment that night, the air had a different weight to it. I hadn't said much on the drive home, just stared out the windshield, watching the rain hit the wipers like a rhythm I couldn't break out of. She didn't speak either, not really. Just fiddled with her phone, then her jacket zipper, then the strap of her purse. The silence between us wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quieter, like we'd both run out of lies and patience in the same breath. The second I dropped my keys into the bowl near the door, I heard her behind me. "Marcus, wait." I didn't turn, just slipped off my shoes. "Please," she said again, softer this time. "Can we talk?" Still, I didn't answer. I walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, stared at nothing for a few seconds. She followed. "Marcus, I'm sorry. I swear, I didn't mean for it to get that bad." "Which part?" I said, finally turning to face her. "The lying? Or the fact you couldn't even show up on time for our wedding license?" Her face crumpled a little. Then there it was. The tears. Not a sob. Not yet. But the careful trickle kind, meant to say look how much I care. The kind you pull from the same drawer as your mascara wipes and your well-rehearsed apology tone. "I panicked, all right," she said. I didn't know how to say I was scared without sounding ungrateful. "Scared of what?" "Of messing this up." "You already did." She flinched. And for a second, I thought she might break right there. But Camille was smarter than that. She regrouped quick. "I know I made mistakes," she said, voice trembling just the right amount. "But don't let one bad day ruin everything we've built. Please, Marcus, let's go back tomorrow. We can refile. I'll be there early. I'll show you I'm serious. I just looked at her. This woman who used to bring me lunch when I forgot mine at the shop, who used to text me photos of clouds she swore looked like hearts, now standing here with tears she could summon like clockwork. I leaned against the counter, folded my arms. Here's the thing, Camille. If we do this again, it's going to be under different rules. She nodded quickly. Too quickly. Of course, anything. Honesty. Full. No more half-truths. No delays. No, I forgot stories that unravel like wet paper. She bit her lip. Okay. And respect, I added. Real respect. Not just when it's convenient or when I'm doing everything right. When it's hard. When I ask questions you don't want to answer. Camille nodded again, slower this time. I can do that. You'll need to, I said. Her hand reached for mine. I let her hold it, but I didn't squeeze back. The next morning, she was already dressed before I was even out of the shower. Hair curled, makeup light but deliberate. She even made coffee, my mug waiting on the counter like nothing ever happened. Like we were just two people in love, on our way to file for their happily ever after. We got to the office 20 minutes early. She didn't say much in the car, just hummed softly to whatever was playing on the radio, eyes fixed out the window. In the lobby, her hand found mine again. I let it stay there. When the clerk handed us the forms, she smiled like this was the first time. Not the do-over. Thanks, she said sweetly. We sat side by side, filling in the blanks, our pens clicking at different rhythms. I could feel the tension humming just beneath her calm, like she knew she was on borrowed time. Once we handed everything in, she turned to me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Second time's the charm, right? I didn't smile back, just nodded. The clerk stapled the forms and told us someone would contact us about the license date soon. Camille slipped her arm into mine on the way out of the building. And just before we reached the car, she whispered, "Thank you for giving me another chance." I didn't answer, because the truth was, I hadn't. Not really. I was just watching to see what she'd do with the rope. The clock read 12:47 a.m. I'd been pacing for the last hour, stopping every few minutes to glance out the window at the empty street. The second I heard her key jiggle at the door, I stepped back into the living room and crossed my arms. Camille stumbled in, all perfume and cheap champagne, heels in one hand, jacket slipping off her shoulder. "Oh," she said, blinking at me. "You're still up?" Clearly. She let out a little laugh, the kind people use when they know they've messed up, but hope charm will do the cleanup. It was just a girls' night. Got a little carried away. I didn't say anything. I just watched her kick off her shoes, then dig around in her purse for her phone. "You said you were going to your sister's for dinner." "I did," she called from the hallway, disappearing into the kitchen. We had dinner. Then Bree dragged us out for drinks. It wasn't planned. Bree lives in Portland. A pause. "Well, she's in town. For the week." She popped her head back around the corner. "Look, you're overthinking. I texted you at 10, I said. And again at 11. Nothing." Her face tightened slightly. My phone died. I held up her charger. This was on the couch. She squinted at it, then walked over and plucked it from my hand. "You're acting like I cheated or something." "I'm acting like someone who waited 3 hours while his fiancée vanished without a word." Camille sighed loudly and dropped onto the couch. "Marcus, it's not that serious." I sat down across from her. Slowly, deliberately, I pulled my wedding ring off and set it on the coffee table between us. That did it. Her head snapped up. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" I didn't answer. I just looked at her. "Oh, come on," she said, her voice rising. "One night out with my girls, and you're pulling some dramatic movie moment? You know what? Go ahead. Be mad. But don't sit there and pretend like you're some perfect saint." "I never said I was," I said, keeping my voice low. "But I don't lie, and I don't disappear." "You're unbelievable," she spat, standing up now, arms flailing. "This is why people don't get married anymore. It's always walking on eggshells. You want control. You want me on a leash." I stood up too. "No, Camille. I wanted a partner." We were facing each other now in the soft kitchen light. No neighbors to hear. No registry clerks watching. Just us. And years of something thin and fragile pulling apart between us like thread unraveling from a sleeve. She threw her hands up. I apologized. I said I messed up. "No, you gave me a half-truth and called it closure." Her voice cracked. "Why are you doing this now?" "Because I'm tired of pretending I don't see it." "See what?" "That you don't respect me." That stopped her. She looked stunned for a second, like she didn't expect me to say the one thing she'd been trying not to admit herself. I grabbed the ring off the table, slid it into my pocket. This doesn't mean what it should. Not yet. She blinked quickly, anger giving way to fear for the briefest second. Marcus, I'm going to bed, I said, stepping past her. You can't just drop that and walk away. I paused in the hallway. You already did. Then I shut the bedroom door. And for the first time since we filed the second application, I didn't feel like we were getting closer to marriage. I felt like we were circling something about to explode. The rooftop lights shimmered above us like a lazy constellation, and the breeze off Elliott Bay carried the smell of wet pavement and expensive perfume. I nursed a ginger ale, leaning against the railing, watching the people who claimed to love us swirl in and out of small talk and selfies. It was supposed to be a celebration. Our pre-wedding mixer, Camille called it. She'd arranged it all, booked the rooftop, chose the guest list, even handpicked the playlist. And yet, she'd spent most of the night away from me, laughing loud with her girls, throwing back cocktails like they were promises she had no intention of keeping. She was on her third tequila when it happened. I saw her across the patio, head tilted back in a too loud laugh, hand brushing some guy's shoulder, a friend of a friend. The moment she locked eyes with me, something flickered behind her smile. Something daring. Camille raised her glass and sauntered over. Her heels clicked against the stone like punctuation marks to her growing swagger. There he is, she sang, draping her arm around my neck. The most patient man in Seattle. I didn't say anything. I was tired of asking who she was performing for. She leaned in close, her breath warm with alcohol. You really still want to marry me? I turned my head slightly, met her eyes. Is that a question or a warning? Camille laughed, too loud again. Oh, come on. Lighten up, Marcus. It's a party. Then she took a step back, raised her hand to the crowd and shouted, Let's be honest, people. He doesn't even deserve me. The music hiccuped. A few heads turned. She giggled and reached for her hand, yanking the engagement ring off and holding it up like it was a raffle ticket. Who wants it? She slurred. And that's when the air shifted. From beside me, Tasha, her best friend since college, stood frozen, drink halfway to her lips. Her eyes darted from Camille to me, something flaring behind them like a match catching fire. Camille, she said sharply. Shut up. But Camille only smirked. Relax, Tasha. We're just being honest here. Then, Tasha stepped closer to me. I could smell citrus from her drink, and something else. Anger, maybe. Sharp and clean. You don't deserve him, she said. Camille rolled her eyes. Oh, not you too. No. Tasha snapped, her voice clear and sure now. You really don't. He's loyal. He shows up. He still looks at you like you're worth saving, and you treat him like a spare coat. Camille blinked, thrown off balance. And then Tasha turned to me, cheeks flushed, but eyes steady. You deserve better. So marry me. Silence. The kind that steals the music right out of the room. My hand was still empty where the ring used to be. And for one strange second, I forgot we were surrounded by 30 people. I just looked at Tasha. Her jaw set, her words still echoing. Camille's face twisted. What the hell, Tasha? But no one said anything. The moment was there, raw, electric, and impossible to ignore. Tasha glanced at me again, then stepped back, the fire in her dimming. Sorry, that was dramatic. But it wasn't a joke. Not really. Camille stared at me now, searching for the reaction she expected. Anger, denial, defense. But I didn't give her any of it. I just said, I think I'll head out. And I walked away. From the rooftop. From the echoing silence. From the woman still holding the ring like a prop in a show she couldn't control anymore. The cafe smelled like cinnamon and burnt espresso. It was barely past 9 a.m. The kind of quiet hour where baristas speak softly and every clink of a cup sounds louder than it should. I spotted Tasha near the window, tucked into a corner booth, hair pulled back, sleeves rolled up like she was already bracing for whatever was coming. She gave me a half smile and lifted her mug in greeting. I slid into the seat across from her, nodding. You beat me here. I needed to, she said, stirring what was left of her foam. Also needed to figure out if I'm completely out of my mind. I cracked a small smile. You mean about proposing to me in front of 30 people? She groaned, covering her face with both hands. God, don't say it out loud. It sounds even worse. I took a sip of my coffee, letting the silence stretch a little. The cafe was filling slowly, couples with their laptops, people with sleepy eyes and nowhere urgent to be. Tasha looked anything but relaxed. I meant it, you know, she said suddenly. Not the marriage part. I mean, I don't know what I meant. But I wasn't just drunk. I figured. She looked at me, eyes clear now, no laughter behind them. Camille embarrassed you last night. That wasn't right. You didn't deserve that. I nodded. I know. I saw your face when she said that. I wanted to snap her out of it. Or maybe just snap. Well, I said, letting the warmth of the mug settle in my hands. You definitely snapped something. She laughed under her breath, then grew quiet. You still love her? The question sat between us like a third cup of coffee no one wanted to drink. I looked out the window, watching a bus roll by slowly in the rain. Yeah, I said finally. I do. Tasha nodded, lips pressed together. Even after all that. She's got a good side. You've seen it. Sure, Tasha said softly. I've also seen what she does to people who get too close. I didn't argue. I couldn't. Instead, I said, thanks. For having my back. You always had mine, she replied. Even when Camille was too busy shining for the crowd to notice. We sat there in a long pause, the weight of the night before still hanging around like fog. Tasha sipped the last of her drink and gave me a tired smile. I guess I'll go back to being just a friend now. I reached across the table and touched her hand lightly. You were never just anything. She looked at me, eyes flickering with something like hope, but only for a moment. Then she pulled her hand back, and just like that, the spell was gone. Outside, the rain kept falling. Inside, the coffee cooled between us. It was a Thursday evening when I finally saw it. I'd just gotten home from work, still in my uniform shirt, half-buttoned, the smell of Freon clinging to my collar. The apartment was quiet. Camille was out, probably at yoga or wherever she went these days to pretend things were fine. I dropped into the couch, pulled out my phone. Thought I'd just scroll for a minute, check out some baseball scores, maybe forget about the weird silence that had crept into our lives since the rooftop mess. But then a clip autoplayed, and everything stopped. It was a video from the party. Someone had tagged Camille in their Instagram story recap. Mutual friend of hers from college, one of those always filming, always smiling types. The music was blasting in the background, people dancing, drinks flashing under purple lights. Then, the camera panned, and there she was, Camille, wearing that slinky black dress she swore was classy but fun, laughing with a drink in one hand, and her other hand stretched toward the camera, flashing her ring like it was a trophy. Then she turned and kissed him, not a friendly peck. Not a blur. A real kiss. On the mouth. With a guy I didn't recognize. The camera shook a little with someone laughing behind it. Then the story looped. I watched it again. And again. I felt my stomach drop, so hard it knocked the air right out of my chest. My thumb hovered, paused over the screen, like if I just held it there long enough, maybe the footage would change. Maybe it was a trick of the angle. A bad joke. A glitch in the upload. But it wasn't. It was her. Her dress. Her hands. Her ring. Her lips. With someone else. I sat back, the phone slipping from my hand onto the couch. And for the first time since all this started, since the registry office, since the lies, since the public humiliation, I didn't feel hurt. I felt clean, like something in me had burned out and left behind nothing but cold, white ash. I wasn't angry. Not really. Anger was hot. This was something else. I leaned forward slowly, picked up the phone, and played the video one more time. Watched the ring flash. Watched her mouth disappear into someone else's. I muted the sound this time. Didn't need the music. Didn't need anything. Just the truth, bare and unfiltered. When the screen went black again, I stood. Walked into the kitchen. Opened the cabinet. Pulled out the box where we kept the lease, tax documents, insurance copies, all the boring, adult life paperwork stuff. And tucked the ring she'd given me into it. Closed the lid. She wasn't home yet. But when she came back, I wasn't going to be the man sitting on the couch waiting to be loved properly. Not anymore. I grabbed a notebook from the counter and wrote 3 lines. That's all I needed. Then I folded the page and slipped it into my pocket. I didn't know exactly how I'd do it yet. But I knew this. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to show her what loss looked like. And this time, I was going to be the one who walked away first. Camille came through the door just past 7. Keys jingling in a rhythm she probably thought sounded casual. I was sitting at the dining table, phone face down, coat already on. She kicked off her boots, humming something under her breath like nothing was off. Like I hadn't watched her kiss another man 10 times that afternoon. "Hey," she called, walking toward the kitchen. "You want Thai tonight, or are you doing that thing where you pretend granola bars are dinner?" I didn't respond. She paused at the fridge, catching the silence. "Marcus." I turned the phone over and tapped the screen. The brightness filled the space between us. Camille narrowed her eyes. "What's that?" "Come here." Something in my tone made her hesitate. Her movements slowed, guarded. Still, she stepped closer. I held up the phone and hit play. The moment started again, her laugh, the ring flashing, the kiss. And just like that, all the color drained from her face. She stared at the screen, then at me, then back again. "Oh my God," she whispered. "That's not, Marcus, that's not what it looks like." I kept the phone lifted until the video looped. Then I placed it back on the table, calmly. Camille tried to smile, that panicked smile people give when they're cornered. "I was drunk," she said quickly. "Everyone was being stupid. I don't even remember that happening." "You flashed the ring," I said. "Then kissed him. You looked directly at the camera." "It didn't mean anything. Marcus, come on. You know me. I joke around when I've had too much." "You weren't joking. It was 1 second. One mistake. Please don't blow this up." I stood up. Slowly. Deliberately. She backed up half a step. "Wait, are you serious right now?" I didn't answer. Just picked up my keys. "Marcus," she said again, voice sharper now. "Where are you going?" I looked her in the eye, calm, detached. "Out. That's it. You're not even going to talk to me?" I opened the door. "Marcus." I paused, looked over my shoulder. "I've been talking," I said. "You just stopped listening a long time ago." Then I closed the door behind me. I didn't slam it. I didn't shout. I just left. Once I reached the elevator, I pulled out my phone and scrolled until I found her name. Tasha. I hesitated only a second. Then I tapped call. She picked up on the second ring. "Marcus, are you free tonight?" I asked, voice low. A pause. Then, "Yeah. Are you okay?" "Not really," I said. "But I've got an idea." Another pause. "Where do you want to meet?" "Anywhere that's not here." She didn't ask for details. Just said softly, "Okay. I'll text you an address." The elevator doors opened. I stepped out into the parking garage, cool air pressing against my chest like a reset. Whatever came next, I wasn't waiting for Camille to tell me what it meant. This time, I was writing the ending. The diner Tasha picked was tucked between a pawn shop and a closed-down bookstore. Neon letters buzzed overhead, "All Night Eats." Inside, it smelled like burnt toast and buttered hope. There was a jukebox near the counter playing a dusty jazz tune that didn't match anything about the decor. She was already in a booth when I walked in, leather jacket on, hair tied up, her fingers wrapped around a chipped coffee mug like it held the answers. "You look like someone just filed for emotional bankruptcy," she said as I slid into the seat across from her. I smirked. "That's not far off. You okay?" I shook my head. "No." She didn't press, just nodded and waved the waitress over. We ordered black coffee and a slice of peach pie we'd end up poking at more than eating. And for a few minutes, we just sat in silence, listening to the low hum of fryers and tired conversation from the other side of the counter. Then I leaned forward. "I want to marry you." Tasha blinked, slowly, then leaned back. "Well," she said, voice calm but eyes wild. "That's one way to open a conversation. I'm serious." She laughed, but it came out nervously. "Marcus, I think you're bleeding somewhere inside and trying to duct tape it with absurdity. I don't mean for love. Not like that." She tilted her head. "Then what exactly do you mean?" I folded my hands on the table. "I mean, I want Camille to know what she really lost. I want her to watch something get taken from her that she thought she had time to fix." Tasha sat quiet for a second, then gave a low whistle. "That's dark." "Is it?" "No," she admitted. "It's poetic." I sipped my coffee. She's been playing this game for months, keeping one foot out the door while pretending to be mine. Now she gets to see what it's like to have the door shut in her face. Tasha's grin grew slow and deliberate. "So this would be what? A statement marriage?" "Exactly." Her eyes searched mine. "And you're sure you want the statement to be me?" "I'm sure I want the statement to be real. And you're the only one who stood next to me when everything else fell apart." Tasha was quiet for a moment. Then she reached for her water glass, raised it like a champagne flute, and said, "To vengeance, vows, and petty poetry." I clinked my mug against hers. "And unexpected power plays." She laughed for real then. threw her head back and everything. I always thought I'd get proposed to with roses, not rage. You still can, I said, if we light them on fire. We stayed there for another hour, talking, planning, not every detail, but enough to know it was real, enough to know we'd actually do it. The next morning, just after 9 a.m., we filed the paperwork. Same building where Camille and I had gone. Same front desk clerk. Different energy. Tasha wore sunglasses and chewed gum like she was heading to jury duty. I wore the same jacket I'd worn the night Camille lied to my face. We didn't hold hands. Didn't pretend it was romantic. We just signed the forms, smiled politely, and walked out without looking back. No announcements. No social posts. No public drama. Not yet. We were saving that for the real show. And somewhere in the pit of my chest, I felt it. Not joy, not revenge exactly. Just something cold and sharp settling into place. Not everyone gets closure. Some of us have to build it ourselves. With a witness. And a marriage license. The rain started about 15 minutes before the ceremony. Not hard. Just a quiet drizzle that streaked the courthouse windows and made the parking lot shimmer like a mirror for the sky. Inside, the air was still, thick with anticipation and the scent of cheap wood polish. Tasha stood beside me, dressed in a simple ivory pantsuit that somehow made the whole room feel cooler. Her hair was pulled back, her earrings small, understated, intentional. We didn't speak much. There wasn't anything left to say. The judge cleared her throat and began the legal preamble, reading from the standard sheet like she'd done this 1,000 times. But it didn't feel routine. Not to me. Not with Camille somewhere out there in the city, still thinking she had time. Still thinking the world revolved around her clock. I'd made sure she didn't know. No texts. No warnings. No second chances. Outside the glass doors of the county clerk's office, a pair of metal detectors buzzed quietly. Security guards nodded at each other in passing. It was just another Thursday morning for everyone else. Until she showed up. It started with a rustle. The kind of sound that makes people glance up, but not really react. Then a voice, shrill, cutting through the muffled quiet. Let me in. Tasha didn't flinch. I didn't turn. We both heard her. The glass double doors rattled as Camille's hands slammed against them. She was in white. An off-the-shoulder gown with lace sleeves and a train dragging across wet concrete. Her makeup was smudged, hair wild from the wind. A bouquet dangled from her hand like an afterthought. Marcus! She screamed, face flush with panic. What are you doing? I kept my eyes on the judge. The guard stepped up, confused, unsure whether to intervene or just watch the chaos unfold. Camille tried the handle again, rattling it like she could force it open through sheer desperation. Her voice cracked. Marcus, please, just talk to me. The judge hesitated mid-sentence, eyes flicking to the noise. I nodded once, firm, unshaken. Keep going, I said. And she did. She resumed the reading like Camille's voice wasn't echoing down the hallway, like we weren't all pretending the world wasn't cracking behind that glass. Camille's fists pounded harder. I made a mistake. I didn't know you'd do this. You can't marry her. Tasha's hand brushed mine. Lightly. No squeeze. No pressure. Just presence. I love you. Camille cried. Marcus, look at me. Please, don't do this. But I didn't. I didn't turn around. I didn't blink. I stood there in front of a woman who hadn't broken my heart, but had picked it up off the floor and handed it back to me clean. The judge said the words. Tasha said yes. I said yes. The kiss was optional. We skipped it. Camille slid down the glass doors, hands pressed to her face, sobbing now. Not screaming. Just falling apart in slow motion while strangers walked by pretending not to stare. And still, I didn't look. Not once. Because this wasn't about her anymore. This was about me. And what I chose. The final stamp echoed louder than it should have. Paperwork done. Marriage official. I reached for the envelope, tucked it into my coat. Tasha adjusted her sleeve. Smiled. Not smug, not gloating. Just content. We stepped outside together, walking past Camille without a word. She didn't speak either. She was curled on the wet stone steps, dress ruined, bouquet crushed under her knees. I opened the door for Tasha, and she walked through. I followed, the rain kissing my face like applause from a sky that finally understood the script. Some stories don't end with closure. Some end with a door that never opens again. And a man who doesn't need to look back. 3 weeks after the courthouse wedding, I found myself sitting in another government building. This time a courtroom that smelled like old carpet and cold air. My lawyer flipped through papers beside me, calm as ever. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't angry. I just wanted it done. Across the aisle, Camille sat stiffly next to her attorney, wearing a beige suit that looked 2 sizes too tight and a scowl that fit perfectly. She didn't look at me once. Not out of pride, out of pain. The kind that festers when a person realizes their grip on you was never as strong as they believed. The judge entered, glasses low on her nose, voice crisp. Case of Camille Rhodes versus Marcus Turner. Camille's attorney stood first. Your Honor, my client lived with Mr. Turner as his common-law wife for 4 years. She contributed to the home, the lifestyle, the shared financial responsibilities. She is entitled to a portion of the property and assets accumulated during that time. I kept my gaze steady. No flinch. No anger. Just waiting. The judge turned to Camille. Ms. Rhodes, do you have documented proof of financial contribution to Mr. Turner's property? Camille swallowed. I did housework, and I supported him emotionally, and that's not what I asked, the judge said. Her lawyer scrambled, holding out a folder. We have statements showing she occasionally purchased groceries, contributed to utilities, and the judge cut him off again. Utilities are not ownership, nor are groceries. Camille shot up from her seat. I built a life with him. He owes me something. The judge's eyebrows lifted. He owes you only what the law dictates. She looked down at the documents again. And the law says you are not a common-law spouse under Washington state standards. You did not share ownership, nor did you have a legal financial union. Camille's eyes widened. That's not fair. Fairness, the judge said, is often perspective. Facts, however, are not. She set the folder aside. Based on the evidence, your claim is denied. Camille's mouth dropped open. A stunned little gasp escaped her, a sound I'd never heard from her before. Something too raw to be rehearsed. Her lawyer whispered, Camille, sit down. But she didn't. She stormed toward the exit, heels snapping against the floor, fury radiating off her like static. Enjoy your little revenge marriage, she shouted over her shoulder. This isn't over. The door slammed behind her, so hard the walls trembled. My lawyer leaned over slightly. That went well. I nodded, stood, and straightened my jacket. Yeah, it did. When I stepped into the hallway, Tasha was waiting on a bench, legs crossed, hands clasped on her knee. She looked up at me, eyebrows raised. That fast. Judge didn't waste time, I said. She never does. We walked toward the exit together, slow, steady. At the doors, I paused and took a breath that felt like stepping out of a storm cloud. Tasha nudged my arm. How do you feel? Free. She smiled, not triumphant, not smug. Just warm. Good, she said. Then let's go home. And for the first time in months, the word home didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. 3 years goes by faster than you'd think. Faster than a grudge can rot. Faster than memories fade. Even faster than a marriage license expires, if you don't file the annulment. And we never did. Not because we forgot, but because, somewhere along the way, we just didn't need to. Tasha and I never had the dramatic talk about us. No grand romantic declarations. No Sunday afternoon proposals under cherry blossoms. It just became our rhythm. At first, we shared the apartment out of convenience, split bills, kept it tidy, respected space. Then it became habit. Then home. She took the couch those first few nights after the courthouse, but eventually we found ourselves watching shows together, ordering in on Fridays, teasing each other about our morning breath, laughing too much at stupid movies we never finished. I fixed her leaky bathroom faucet. She painted the kitchen yellow one weekend without asking. I didn't mind. It made the whole place warmer. One morning, about a year in, I came home from a job early. Found her asleep on the couch with her glasses still on, laptop open beside her. Our dog. Yeah, we got a dog, snoring on her chest. And I remember thinking, this feels right. More right than anything that came before. We never labeled it. We didn't have to. Love, when it's real, doesn't need a script. It just shows up. Quietly. Kindly. Without apology. Camille reached out once, some short, vague text about closure and the past being the past. I never replied. Not out of bitterness. Just peace. The kind of peace you don't trade back for old chaos, no matter how familiar it once felt. Tasha still teases me sometimes. Imagine telling someone you married me out of spite. And I always grin. Imagine telling someone I never got around to unmarrying you. We laugh. We kiss. We go make pancakes. This life, our life, was never the plan. It was the fallout, the aftershock. But sometimes, when everything's broken just enough, something better grows from the cracks. Something unexpected. Something true. And you don't need a second ceremony to know you got it right this time. You just stay and build together. That was the end of my story. Tasha once raised a glass and offered to marry me just to take a stand against Camille's cruelty. She said it like a joke, but she followed through like it meant something. So tell me, did she do the right thing, or was that crossing a line? Let me know in the comments. And if this story hit you somewhere deep, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.